어이발 상가 그러네 다시 될래 다자 칼라지고 괜히 사마나 통 다시 될래 저희 내들은 괜히 사마 보안님 뭐 사마 동바동 빼가고 차서.
So first the distance. First Dashidele to all the Sangha whom joined us today on the live stream. I'm so happy to see all of your faces, all of the faces of the older disciples that I know.
사제 미래 왕래 저 왕만 보고 그요래 가랭이 좀 드리고서 저들이 밤이 가영지 요래 이 영화들이 사제 추적권 나가서 잡대 요는 양 들이 죽은 나가지도 잡대 요래 롱끝이 체매 받으니 답question 좀해 봐서 제가 사제 추적으로 꼭 요래 들이 대답지 마도지 마도 같은 게 담배들이 트럭거 개비시는 담배들이 먹고 나네 들리면데 휴지통 마도 같은 데들이 거서 다다 무슨 뭐게 샤가면데 요장들이 휴지맥주 같은 마토들이 통속을 말이 사지 추용지 하고나들이 년이 18년 제가들이 사지 가서 그 용지 제 얘네들이 민성의 사제 탐지 것은 그 용어지 죽을롱 그 것은 용어지 지기요 이 마음이 베셉지 탐지들이 소소한 마음이 매도 성운다 그러면 무슨 대화 차대요 대더라더니 뚜벅 답시고 된거 뚫는 거요 들가요 뚜벅거리.
So today we have medicine Buddha empowerment on the program that the Boston Center had organized, and so generally we receive many empowerments all the time, and so however, even though we receive them on different occasions, the Dharmakaya of the deity, actually the mind of the deity, is all pervasive like space. And then also the Sambhogakayas, they are present uninterruptedly. And they are seen by those with pure karmas, and they turn the wheel of Dharma continuously. And then for all those sentient beings who have not realized how things really are, to them the Nirmanakaya or the spiritual teacher appear. And they introduce them to the true nature of phenomena. So, and those sentient beings who have not realized the Dharma, the meaning of the Dharma at all, they might possess flesh eyes, like a physical eyes, but they do not possess the eyes of the Dharma. And lacking those eyes of Dharma, they are unable to see the qualities of a Buddha. And those of you those practitioners who know how to practice, they are able to recognize the qualities of a Buddha, the qualities of the three kayas. And so when one has completely matured, one matures into those three qualities of Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. And the practitioners, they understand the qualities of these three kayas. And then sentient beings who are immature or unripened, and they are like the seed of a flower. But even though they are unripe, they still are connected to all the Buddhas all the time. And so to them, the Nirmanakaya appears and introduces them. And me too, I am too a Nirmanakaya.
시랍단 경제 시제와 대로 상기 시랍을 찾아서 sama 시랍을 상기를 했어. 대외로 대로 뛰면서 다 체력을 뛰들이 저들이 답이 취단 되는 상기 거스는 거 용도 이제도 시에도 요래 얘는 다 대시에는 또 와단 마도 동문에서 와서 죽고는 일이 오탈라만 일이 강간이 톡송지 때문에 죽고서 롱고 sab들래 다들 미바다 마다테 인저리 차례 같이 그 록다이마 같이 대통령 연절이 도마지는 가도 하고 말이지 다다 무스들이 지는데 시라부 차리디 시라부 찬 시라블라 띠니 다타서 이 사지 롱고가 똑같더니 모두다 제기로 빼가면 오 뜨거든 무슨 방송 통고요래 깨고요래 롱고 송거라지 뜨거거든 무슨 봐서 동방하는 거 써서 못지 못하고요래 제가 무지가 박차를 때는 되고서 다들 무슨 통소시 뭐 치마를 신봐요 비 지초와지 요래 이 뒤에는 살로 돈을 다 사지 까이는 저 살로 다오나 이 축구다 로고랑 이제서나 이 로고 자총 다워서 그때는 축구를 로고송 로고를 축구송 요거요래 그때 축구들 좋아하는 거 소시적 제들이 따뜻하게 이제는 좀 매일 속질 패비요래 대라들이 축구시 받으더니 zog 통지 요발라들이 이제 막다 아무리 따뜻한 무슨 zog 통고요리 어쨌든 저희는 통고요 그래도 통고요 말이 상태로래 말이 되지 다다 통하는 우설이들 롱고 통고요리 사실 롱고 됐다고래 동체계요리 깨고요리 되게 목축체 동작 삼아 하고요리 축구가 조금 용띠지 롱고 쏜 거랑 이제 거 송농 거 톡주거서 그리 추가다 조금 용지지 송거장이 롱고 송농 것이 봐대 이 취재 동도 이제 책을 내는들이 동문 거요래 대회는 될 송농 거지 롱고랑 이제들이 롱고 살라 당원을 잡고 좀 롱고 자송다 양 토지 영요 봐 라고 책을 봐다 하면 됐다 그러더니 사지 것은 뭐 용지 무엇이든 다 채는 것들이 다 통도 다 무서워했지. 제일 티나는 거래. 딱 가지나들이 다 요랬지. 라마 다다 라마 저 신문 펜션이 다 요 말이지. 내가 좀 담지 거 저희들은 통화지 무슨 요랬지. 톡축 거들 좋은 말이. 그리스도는 그때 지체 요 말이. 습지 마시 받을 수 있고 그러고 요래. 그래서 저희는 통이 다 그리 라마 통고 요래. 마야들은 니들이나 샘지와 요리 이제 가리들이 샘는 가서 샘지 샘도 제쪽 방금 갔다 그러는 그리들 네 값들이 또 맞도 제빠거든이 무슨 이상 무슨 말이 되니 니들이 똑같은 때문에 샘을 더 자리올 말이 뜻하다 무슨 절도 하던 자와이면 내가 쳐봐가더니 딱 가서서라고 자 가시 좋아하는 분 참 같이 타고 있지 나서 봐 내라서 내는 잡아서 내가 주마다 어땠다 조금은 다 다른 무슨 통을 이제 가디는 통이 요리지 내가 계셔야 요 말이지 걔들 가디는 고 요리지 니리지 이게 남 책을 나중에 책이 이 민가야 요 말이 주민들이 적들이 살다 맞다 그랬거지 내가 처발에 내 말만 진 송구요에 저들 제랑지에 내가 봤다 그랬지 또 상모당에 되다가 소 강문 주고 라마 개비신이 답지 내 빠이는라 되니 요가는라 대다가 과차는 무슨 무슨 됐다고 저들 동무모지 됐다 그래 그랬다 무슨 무보 많이 봐 내가 속 내가 되게 잘해 라만 독산 다 제대로지 무디가 침이 중물이 대상이 중대사요래 때를 졸래들이 되니 라마 축구상하고 다들 제시베 동도 나지 제시베 동도들이 됐다 사지 공학도 제시베 봐대 어떻게 가지는 자야요와 그때 밤 먹지는 저 라랑게 먹을 것도 없이 생부터 봐서 하더라. 들이 양통고요래. 베타가 들이라면 톡죽거는 종요 말이. 송롱거는 종요 말이. 들이 꼬ጥቀ꼬ጥቀ 반사서 인전도 쭈르르지는 들이. 다다 우리 대마 많이 봐. 파티를 메리트 동문이 사지 차들이 또들 탑지 사지리. 오 심지기 성성 심지 탐지나 어떤 성성을 요래서 어디 인솔 해도 다 다지 심지기 이거 모양 타도래. 그때도 똑같이 탑지나 봐놔서지. 쟤도 쟤랑 좀 딱 봐줘 그래지. 동문이 딱 그대로 롱거다 저기 죽고 또딱 봐야지. 데이터가 써먹던 거래지.
I always tell you this quote by Lotikden Sumgan from the Gongchik, where he says, everything that's done in the field of noble things is done by Buddha. So everything in this world that is done with wisdom is really done by Buddha, because there is no one solid entity that we call the Buddha, but actually what Buddha really is that quality of wisdom and compassion that we possess. And so those who have completely perfected their wisdom and compassion are beings that we call a Buddha. And so now it is also due to science, actually, that we can see these qualities, because actually science, too, is an activity done with intelligence, so therefore also done by Buddha. And so we always speak about the qualities of the Buddha's three kayas. And even though we all know about that, we have all heard about that, we mostly just really have an intellectual understanding. We understand the point, but still we continue to grasp that the true existence of physical form of our body. So, for example, when you see the guru, you think that's the guru, that's the real guru, and today we have met. So that is how we think when we grasp at the physical, the concrete existence of reality. And so we do have an understanding, but is in terms of the Dharmakaya and the Sambhogakaya, it's more of an aspiration, and then something that we understand, and we think that maybe they probably exist, is probably true, but still we don't really understand, and due to that we develop a lot of doubts in our mind, and also a lot of misconceptions and wrong views. So even though we don't really understand, still we possess this aspect of wisdom. As we said, also science possesses this aspect of wisdom. And it is really that aspect, that same aspect of wisdom, that shows us the true nature of things. And so they are introduced to us by the Sambhogakaya and the Nirmanakaya. So regarding the Nirmanakaya, that is what we as ordinary beings directly see. So we think that so today we see each other and we hear each other's voice. So the seeing, or like the physical form, we can say is more the Nirmanakaya. So we see each other's face, and when we see each other, we feel happy. And then the Sambhogakaya is like the enlightened speech. So through the Nirmanakaya comes the Sambhogakaya. So through the enlightened form comes the enlightened speech. But it is due to our belief, this habitual thinking of, habitual believing in the concrete existence, that we think that, oh, today I really saw him. I saw the guru. So that is the kind of feeling that arises in those who cling to the true existence, the concrete existence of appearances. And so the Buddha, even though the Buddha has introduced us, or you introduced to the Buddha's teachings, we still don't really have a complete experience of that. And so we said that from the Dharmakaya, the Guru's mind, Buddha's mind is the Dharmakaya. So from the Dharmakaya arises the Sambhogakaya, which is like a rainbow in the sky. And it is said that the Sambhogakaya and the Dharmakaya are united actually. So from Dharmakaya arises Sambhogakaya, and then from the Sambhogakaya arises the Nirmanakaya. And the Nirmanakaya appears in the various forms in the 6 realms of samsara. For example, in our human world, the Nirmanakaya appears as the various spiritual teachers in human form. So that is Nirmanakaya. That is the form that we can see. But as this term Nirmana actually implies, it is an illusory form. It is not like an emanated form, an illusory form. So for example, not as we said today, we see each other on the screen. So even though we see each other and we hear each other's voices, you might still think that, but it's still not real. It's still just a screen. It's not real, our meeting. And that thinking is completely wrong. Don't think that way at all. Because actually what you're seeing today is the real Guru. And the flesh and blood that you saw before is not really the real Guru. That is the real Sambhogakaya actually. Because the Sambhogakaya performs a real purpose, and we can hear the Guru's voice. We are introduced to the Dharma. We can understand the meaning through the words. So this is how we should understand the 3 kayas. The enlightened form is the Nirmanakaya, the speech, the Sambhogakaya, and the mind is the Dharmakaya. And so it is through the union of Dharmakaya and Nirmanakaya. So actually the union of Dharmakaya and Nirmanakaya is shown through the Sambhogakaya, because the Sambhogakaya is speech. So through speech, the quality of Dharmakaya and also Nirmanakaya are being explained to us. So therefore we say enlightened speech is Sambhogakaya. And it is that the Sambhogakaya, also the form of the deity, the appearance of the Sambhogakaya is clear and vivid, and yet it is insubstantial and empty, just like a rainbow in the sky. We can see it, but it's ungraspable. And those who have purified the obscurations of their mind can see the quality of the Sambhogakaya. As we said, nowadays, actually science is also able to show us, it is through science, through the development of technology and so on, that we are able to recognize the qualities of a Buddha even more because of seeing each other on the screen. So therefore you should think that seeing each other on the screen, that's real. Now we really see each other. And that is also more real than the physical form, because what you see on the screen is always there, it's always present. And also the Guru actually always is present. Even though people say, oh, this Guru has passed into nirvana, has left the body, but that's actually not true. He's always there. Whenever you want to turn on the TV, you can see the Guru, you can hear the Guru's teachings. It's always actually there. And the Dharmakaya mind, anyways, is all-pervasive and is beyond coming and going. And also the Sambhogakaya speech benefits beings for as long as beings exist, uninterruptedly. And the form that we see on the screen, therefore, is the real seeing of one another. And also the seeing of each other's minds happens because of love. Because I really love you, and the basis of our mind is one and the same. The basis of mind, the ground of the mind is like space. It's just that those people who have not realized the nature of the mind temporarily, they think that just the physical form is real. But actually, that's not the real form. This is just how it appears to us due to our dualistic perception. With what is real is really the connection that we have within the mind, and that is without ever meeting or parting. So there's no coming together and no separating. It's always one. Just temporarily, because we are under the control of confusion, it appears to us that there is a separation. And then some beings wander in the 6 realms of samsara, and then some go to the various pure lands. And the Nirmanakaya temporarily appears as like an illusory form to those of impure karmas. So in any case, you should think that what you see today is the real seeing of each other, and it is always available. It is without birth and death. You can always see it, you can always hear the Guru's voice, and therefore you should recognize that to be the real Guru. And so what appears, we have said, is the illusory form. And the illusory form, the physical body of flesh and blood, is just like a pile of dust. And we think that it really exists because our mind is confused. Don't hold on to that belief. It is just a temporary appearance. So temporarily it seems that our body is so real and permanent, but it actually is a compounded phenomenon and therefore subject to disintegration. So therefore recognize all the gurus just like that, wherever they are, wherever they have appeared in the past or they are present right now. So this physical body that we have is not real. The physical form of the guru also is not real. It's a compounded phenomenon. And we only believe, so we talk about things like, oh, the guru is here, and then we say, oh, the guru is not here. And this is the fault. These kind of feelings, these perceptions are the fault of grasping at concrete physical existence. So we need to become liberated from that fixation and recognize that the true guru, which is the Dharmakaya and Sambhogakaya, transcends birth and death. So once one has attained enlightenment, to an enlightened being, there is no birth and death. Always present, we can always see the guru. And especially if we have purified our obscurations due to faith and devotion, we recognize that we can always see the guru. So the Dharmakaya is the guru's mind, and the speech is the Sambhogakaya, that is without coming and going, always present. And the Nirmanakaya, as this term nirmana implies, it means an emanation body, something that's not real, something that just emanates, that we can temporarily see, for example, a human being. But actually in their mind is Buddha. So to those who have realized how things really are, they can see that guru as a Buddha. And even sentient beings who wander in the 3 lower realms, they all possess that potential to recognize that. So even though we should not even grasp at the reality of, oh, they are in the 3 lower realms, they also possess Buddha nature, and they will become liberated once they have purified their aspirations. So Nirmanakaya implies an emanation form that is a compounded phenomenon and therefore impermanent. And the Dharmakaya and the Sambhogakaya, these are the pure and permanent aspects.
One Kursaga Roma, one Kurgiga Robo, Tukari, Miri, Chipakare Yoredina. I think it don't say Sako Yore, Mango, Tsam Jerry, Sajika Karatini, Dumde, Debanishi, Hako Yore. 이때 마도가 쉽지 담지가 되다 다다한테는 이제 고세 무보다 지만의 신이들이 다다데 탐합을가 있어 좀 이따라지 마다도 가리나라는 리드 파트베티 리드 주제지 리드 주제야 대치고 코나테서 못한지 제라들이 왕시 받을 강의들이 왕들이 다 슬라만 보여요 왕자 참만 보이네요 왕그 동무지 밤아도 요한 말이 강의 류가 이스 드바디 다 장마서 그래 배도 돌아오지 맞췄어 그래 왜 됐다 그래 이들이 다 장마서야 돼 가려지나 샘 코랑 대식 뭐 있나요 내가 무고도 지금 박차만 야 박차를 뛰니 니 저게 직선을 있어 이렇게 거 양성을 하장 책에서 버리 이쪽으로 삼았던 것이 좀 고쳤더래 그래서 다 샘격이나 맞다 도와도 맞다 또 소소소소 내도 소소소소 차대요래 말을 좀 대대와래 라텔이 대대리 진짜 도와를 좀 도와들 럭턱들 딱 벌더니 강게 주고 좀 밑에 장들 사지에 살아 샘ኳ를 파도와 정화매와 샘ኳ를 남갔다고 그래 잡았다니 하고 돈다고 되면 돈나 내 말이 샘지 답지 로도나 찍도 좀돼 봐서 딱 봐는 로네 속에 만나서 저치 차와더니 몇 번만 속고 속차 때라서 못 가니도 내 답지는 땅 들이 속차라고 말았던 잡지층을 잡지는 티와를รับ다는 제 답지를 줬대 삼모다는 진 직진수고 송지디 하장 책적다 도지 뭐 또 찍고로 삼모다는 이 왕이 도다 하고 그래요 대답지 가래 점지가 나서그레스 저 가래 저 뉴모 받네 자외 뉴모 도 차셨다 목소리 대라티니들이 도 차를 세나송 들이 유몽동아 들이 뉴모 톡차리 이 뉴모 톡지 소수나서 또 다디는 지금 나오자마자 무보다 치마를 집이 좀 찍고 가더니 나긴 있었다 내려티는 샘티 말 뒤바 차르티는 로로 소소소소 차르면 샘지 뒤바 차리요래 별다다 미치나 직진을 빼려 미다 카바요 뒤바 지자리다 이 카바하들 로면 샤소나 카바 차창 오늘 가면 배고만 도가 들면서 샘이나 로리 됩니다 알고래 들이 로마도 상모 잡았던 사지 까들 쌈지만 잡았네 봐요 이제 소소나 되다 드드버체 침보에 대해서 못하면 다 하고 그래도 돼서 대회는들이 되다 왕시 받아가 다 가리면 다 박차 정도래 박차지만은 그 셋이 셋다고 하면 셋을 쓰리 조금 총도 라면다가 가도만 통과 실그라운 왜가 차대요래 이 박차들이 왕탐치 저도 자원을 구성통의 왕선성 내가 레제 박차 구성통들이 거여왕 그 르그 박차타 성고왕 그 아그 박차타 통대왕 그 세구 박차타 너는 나에서 박차 소바드 다 하서는 이 샘대식 좀 보고 들이 도와를 좀 가까이 오면 상제심지 대식 좀 보고 되게 샘고랑들이 이제들이 답발이 대회들이 이제 답발이 바텔라 내가 마다 바텔라 다 탑라티니들이 상마존에 이제 대중들이 별이 셔드 상만이나 셔그라무 도토고요 베티 타버리면들이 제지 뒤수고서 오 샘지 답지 사지 마이나 오데 사지레 제티디 노트고 말이 지라면에 대배절마시 때 동은 메시지 답이 무슨 이제 사지에 매 바꿔도 못나서만 사지 역할을 샘리지 들이 자다 때들이 생코랑을 이어라 들이다 나다는 지들이들 막 모두 얘는 따직이 감탄제라 답치로 때는 좀다 소소소 들이직이 말로 때는 나진이 때들이 니몽 똑똑소리 샵때 소리 니몽 봐지 저도 뒤라서 내가 저런 차롱대로 차도 사 뒤걸로 싸먹었다나 오 들이 짜 생것들이 我起码大金一地把叉子打了，这长龙学完了一叉子有的，sem狂了大金你没吧？哦，大金你们那的sem的了，sem狂让西松哈过了，胖着啊的臭王没吧？哦，东当个地方的这到sem哪块到个叉子哪块儿装我嘛的，这偷就王这的嘛，偷就王的东瓜谁吧了，这到绿就把叉，这里俺把叉的，绿到俺了，这里把叉的样子就可以了。绿的长这个老说话，他说话这个过里，但是一动完了叉嘛，完了当天你把叉的说把叉通过人家这个那么那，你把叉的中国有的，这了大来个样子讲呢，那个绿把叉爬地中国的，俺看了那扎东的地就都把叉的爬当中的，这另外你把叉的当成了。这sem狂了，还是少长，这上山这边吧，大衣嘛，sem哪怕到了这能跑过来，就个哪怕到了送，他这个这多了，这里这嘛那里别送的，哦，他这个사자 집고 간 거래, 거기 박차 가구나, 거기 동아리 저거 사자 집고 간 속소 송 잡아서 그래, 근데 나 사자 집고 간 가래, 그래 돈담근데 만나 갔다 그래지. 데려들이 말라리 바게. 데려들이 죽었이 봐대. 데리 뭐또 봐라 죽었다는지. 데리지 뭐또 봐들 습지고요. 데려들이 대화일에 롱고 정수 싸와일에 죽고 정수 데리 시합 싸워 데려들이 데리 죽고 정수 사질 것좀 상우 세분은 양대한테서 거래. 데 샘도 싸워 마사바듯이 시합도 dorte 돌이 팔아서 dorte 거래. 대외들이 왕대 양대 쉬어. 이 대들이 냠니 양장도 제고 동료들이 왕만 보시에 동다되게 쏴게 고성 톡대 저산 촉세는 제 동네들이 소산 촉세는 제고 그래 산촉 세는 그래 첫번 고충이 다지 이제 나다 그래 대들이 다다 토마니들이 산촉 세는서 상들 랑다지지 로도 파상은 이제 제상도 그래 때 나다 닥치를 인기지 로고 인피 로고 인피를 녹상지 인피sem을 총성 왕강 강인아들이 샘지니 고서 가도 샘지 고서 그래 대다를 대대는 두속대도 대대를 나게 당시시 로마타들 왕은 모두 좋아해지
So we receive an empowerment. So first we need to see the relation between the disciple and then the Vajra master who confers the empowerment. So they both are Nirmanakaya because they both are human beings, they're people. So then what's the difference between them? It is that one of them understands the reality of things a little bit more, and who has done more learning and reflection and meditation. And it is so through the words of this master that we understand. Those who don't understand, that we understand the twofold truth, especially karma, cause and effect. So those who don't understand are unrealized sentient beings who are unrealized because they they cling to the concrete true existence of this world and their ordinary body, speech, and mind. So, for example, we can see in this world together human beings and the animals, any being that you can see, they have this obscuration, this physical obscuration, which means because they have this physical obscuration, this fixating on physical form, they cherish their own bodies more than anything else. In fact, that's all we think about. It's just our body. So what's the purpose of the empowerment? There are many different deities, and there might be hundreds of different empowerments, but they all have a single meaning and purpose. And the purpose is to purify these obscurations of body, speech, and mind. And this purification is just like, like washing old dirty clothes and making them clean again. So even though we have these defilements, we still possess Buddha nature. And even though we possess Buddha nature, we have many habitual imprints of grasping at the true existence of this world of appearances. There's another extremely profound quote by Lord Jigten Sumgön. He said that cause and effect, or karma, is the natural manifestation of one's moment-to-moment thoughts. Think about these words. They are extremely profound. If you think about these words carefully, you will really understand a lot. So we all have the same mind. For example, humans and animals. We look different. We experience different forms of happiness and suffering. So it seems that we are separate beings. So this is how it appears with all the 6 realms. So we think that there are those, we call them the transient, the wandering beings. We say that they are wandering around in the 6 realms of samsara. In the beginning of the 37 practices, it says, those gurus and the Chenrezig, they have realized that phenomena neither come nor go. So the Buddhas have realized that the mind doesn't come and go, that the mind is all pervasive. So that's a Buddha's true nature. And then the verse continues, however, they strive single-pointedly for the sake of transient beings. So those transient beings are wandering beings. We always go around in circles. And think about each and every kind of living being, even a very small creature. They also possess a mind. Or think about a being who is as large as a mountain and lives in the oceans, like a whale and so on. You can see very clearly what Jigten Sumgön meant when you look at each of these beings, of these animals, for example. So what Jigten Sumgön said again is that cause and effect is the natural manifestation of one's moment-to-moment thoughts. And these words really, this line here by Jigten Sumgön is extremely meaningful, extremely profound. When you really understand these words, you also understand the meaning of the empowerment. So everything, what he is really saying is that everything is a manifestation of karma. And what is that? What is the karma? Karma is the cause that we create. And the actual cause are the afflictive emotions. And so we speak about the 3 root afflictive emotions, attachment, hatred, and ignorance. And then they multiply. Then, for example, from attachment arises stinginess and greed. And then we have the 5 poisons, and then we have the 6 poisons, and then they multiply. And then each of these 6 afflictive emotions manifests in a specific form. And mainly, they all arise from self-grasping. This thought of an I exist, there's this me. And because we believe in the existence of this me, we develop this fault of believing in the true existence of appearances. It is because of this grasping at me that we perceive everything in a dualistic way, self and other and so forth. And that is this imprint that we are talking about that is in our mind that we need to purify. It is because of this habitual imprint of grasping at a true reality of the things that the 6 realms of samsara have come into existence. And still, the basis of mind, the ground, is one and the same. So the mind of a person and the mind of a little creature, a little animal, is one and the same. And so how is that mind that's one and the same? For example, to give a worldly example, the mind of a person, for example, is like a phone, like a hand phone. And like an iPhone, you need power, you need electricity for the phone to work. And if the power goes out, then even though you have a perfect phone, it won't work. It's not powered. So it's just like that. If a person wouldn't have a mind, then they would just be a corpse that is being discarded or burned. So think very carefully about these words by the Buddha, because when you really understand them, they are incredibly powerful. And this is the like how we should understand these obscurations or these habitual imprints that obscure the mind. So it's our belief in a true existence. And so then now when we receive an empowerment, the purpose of the empowerment is to purify these habitual karmic imprints. And so the mind in its natural state is like a crystal or like a mirror. It's very clear. But then these imprints, they put a layer of dirt over that crystal, or different colors and so on. So then basically those different colors and layers of dust and so on, they obscure the natural luminosity of the crystal, so we can't see it. And so all empowerments that we receive come down to 3 root empowerments of body, speech, and mind. And these 3 empowerments purify our ordinary karmic imprints of body, speech, and mind. So, for example, when we receive the form empowerment, we purify the karmic imprints of seeing this ordinary body. And so then when we receive the speech empowerment, we purify the imprints of speech, and through the mind empowerment, the imprints of the mind. So in brief, through the 3 empowerments, we purify our ordinary body, speech, and mind of all these layers of defilement, these karmic imprints. And then when they are all removed, what remains, the natural state, is Buddha nature. And it is on that level, that ground, where all beings of the 6 realms are actually one, where Buddhas and sentient beings are one. So that pure ground, that is our true nature, is what we call Buddha nature. And it is only temporarily impure or kind of defiled by these layers of imprints. And through skillful means, we purify them. Just like we polish a crystal, and when the crystal is completely polished, we can see its natural brilliance. So these words by Thigden Sumgön are extremely profound. And when you understand that, you understand that all sentient beings actually, we actually ultimately possess the same nature, which is Buddha nature. There's also another quote by Thigden Sumgön from the Gongchik where he says, if something would not exist on the basis or in reality, then it could not be brought into existence just by imagining it or so. So basically, it is because all beings are Buddhas that they can become Buddhas. If sentient beings wouldn't have this nature, then even though we would say, oh, they are Buddhas, that they would never become Buddhas. So regarding the nature of the mind, the single spaces, this is also explained very clearly in the Sammantabhadra prayer. So that is, there's a single ground, but then we make divisions. Wherever we go, in any circumstance, we divide everything. So we have self and other, and in the Dharma, for example, we have different divisions of lineages. And in the world, we have many more divisions between self and others, and then we have the various afflictive emotions that arise and multiply, the 3 poisons, and then the 5 poisons, and then we have 8, they multiply into 84,000 different afflictions. And so these afflictions temporarily make the mind be like a frozen ice block. And it is through the empowerment, through practice, that we must purify or melt this ice block. So basically, when we purify our grasping, our belief in a dualistic existence of self and other, that is when we are melting the ice block. Because our true nature, the true nature of our mind, within our true nature there is no self and other. So therefore, one who realizes the nature of the mind, the ultimate reality, realizes that mind doesn't come and doesn't go. It's always present. Mind is like space, and space doesn't come and go. So this is what we later learn during the mind empowerment. And so then in order to realize this, we have to purify the karmic imprints of mainly body and speech. So it is mainly through body and speech that we continue to reinforce our habitual patterns over and over again. So through our body, we continue to create causes. By clinging to the body, then we create causes of the experiencing heat and cold and hunger and thirst and suffering and pain and so forth. So we create the 6 realms of samsara. And it is because we have a body that we, for example, we become attached to what we find is pleasant, and we develop hatred or aversion against what we don't like, what is unpleasant. So we develop all kinds of different feelings, basically the 6 sense perceptions. In the Samantabhadra prayer, it also says, this is how imprints grow stronger and thicker. So we continue to reinforce them through the various bodily, the physical sensations that we run after. So then when we practice the deity, by visualizing the deity, the form of the deity over and over again, we begin to forget about our ordinary body. And then by reciting the deity's mantra, we purify the thoughts of clinging now to the thoughts that mix meaning and thought, our idea about them. So basically we conflate our idea with the actual thing in front of us. So these fixations are of terms of hearing sound. We purify them through mantra recitation. And then in this way we have purified the karmic imprints of body and speech, the mind becomes naturally clear. And when the mind becomes naturally clear, in its natural state, the mind is like a translucent diamond, completely clear and unobscured. That is the Dharmakaya. And that is what we ultimately need to realize. So Milarepa also had said that in order to purify samsaric karmic imprints, meditate on Mahamudra. In the Zambala practice, also it says, may I attain the empowerment of Mahamudra, which purifies the defiled karmic imprints of samsara. So what is this meditating on Mahamudra? It is to see the space-like nature of the mind. That is what Milarepa had called the Dharmakaya. Milarepa also said that from non-conceptuality arises the Dharmakaya. When there are no concepts in your mind, you feel very happy, very blissful. And then he said, from that bliss then arises the Sambhogakaya, and from clarity arises the Nirmanakaya. And so this is how he had explained the seeds of the 3 kayas present within one's own mind, and it's explained in various different places as well. The nature of the mind, the ground, the basis is like a diamond that is obscured. And it is through receiving empowerment over and over again that we polish this diamond so that its qualities reveal themselves. And so in order to reveal these qualities inherent within us, we need to receive empowerment and we need to engage in continuous practice. And most importantly, we need to connect to the mind of the deity, which is the mind of bodhicitta. That deity's qualities of enlightened body, speech, and mind really arise out of bodhicitta. And it is because we lack bodhicitta that we are confused. It is because we lack bodhicitta that we grasp at a self. And due to self-grasping, we perceive a duality. We create this appearance of there's me and others. So it's this self, this grasping at a self that has to become purified. And therefore, in the very beginning, always, we must cultivate bodhicitta. And bodhicitta is a mind that has completely cleared away all selfish thoughts. There's no more selfishness. There's no more self. But because others still appear, even though one realizes there is no self, one cultivates an altruistic mind. So that is bodhicitta, this selfless, altruistic mind. In the 37 practices, it says, the perfect Buddhas arise from the altruistic mind. So therefore, just like it is with every empowerment, also disempowerment begins with the cultivation of bodhicitta. So since we have had this time today, I introduced you now to the meaning of the empowerment to the best of my abilities. So now Rinpoche will read the short historical background of the empowerment.
Bodhisattva Bodhisone Japo Chasung Devdina Japo Chasung Devdina Nangte Sase Senari Jipe Nimata Dipsi Namchu Gonta Les Waso Jipa Yesamle Jipa Yesamle Jipa Wangi Jun Tobe Jipa Kangla Tejang Rongla Hani Sahaji Jun Gareni Jang Jongsing Dolo Konan Mangichi Soba Ladrupjang Lami Lux Nama Star they are Lami Atayo the trees also gone by Yella. There's Sanjay Minjan and Berea Uji Jabo, since to Basamji Jang, Piyun Tai, to some number Majawada. Now I won't bother Melo one of Jang, Melsachi. Wabo Matawan, Wabo Tawan Javadan, they direct Tamjila people Javadan, Japu Chepat and Jabali Tawadan, Sending Yadad Kive, Jabatani, Termajivatan, Kati Kichang, Nur the Tani, Nur the Tani, Chum Chawatan, Chupan Jaba. Tamji Takwatang, Chado, Datu Yimu, Debata, Tama, the Seka, but on Kagajam, Topa, Songi, the Ginji de Bunchimbo, Juni, Yo, the Mundakebe, Songi Jobatang, no part of the Dopa Song, so City Bassam, the Pion Theatre, now one from the Pion, Mibaguba. Mesatati Dolog the Halog the Chipper, the Slag Chipper Mari, the Jubak Chipper, the Namsali Tangati, Masani, the Teraswane, Tadi, Tuan Kashi Samamamoton, Judy Kaka Sosoni, the taste of the flat and watch about the top did Juba Lama Gavis in the Amana Ju, the Chiparimato, Shark Chipari, 동화 송들이 이제 맞죠.经济 동화 가르치는 저게 오래지. 좌측 말해도는
So first the history. The medicine Buddha Dharma empowerment. When the Buddha resided in Vaishali, he sat under the tree of music and taught the sutra of the medicine Buddha in response to Manjushri's supplication. At that time, Vajrapani, Brahma, Indra, the 4 great kings, and the 12 mighty Yaksha chiefs vowed to protect sentient beings of future times who would hear or recollect the name of the medicine Buddha. Manjushri transmitted these teachings to Khenpo Bodhisattva and to the younger Khenpo Bodhisattva, who then passed them on to Atisha. This is the earlier lineage of transmission. When Khenpo Bodhisattva came to Tibet, he passed them on to the king Trisong Detsen, who passed them on to his son. And this is the later lineage of transmission. This text belongs to the Sky Dharma or Namchu, which is a mind treasure or Dharma, and its practice has been sustained throughout 4 lineages without interruption. All 4 lineages without interruption. Therefore, one may engage in this practice regardless of which lineage one follows. The medicine Buddha practice is taught in several tantras of the Vajrayana, as well as in the sutra system. A sadhana of practicing the medicine Buddha as the guru, visualized instantaneously in the form of Yutok, the physician guru, is found in the Anuttara Yoga Tantras. The benefits of merely hearing the name of the medicine Buddha, the king of lapis light, are infinite. Practitioners will be able to maintain disciplined conduct without impairment. They will be cured from deafness and blindness. Their faculties will become whole. Various illnesses will transform into well-being, and they will be free of fear. The obscurations that develop from the fault of stinginess, which leads to birth as a hungry ghost, will be purified, and one will not be born there. Even if one is born there, one will be freed swiftly. The obscurations that develop from degenerated discipline and abandoning the Dharma will be purified. The obscurations that develop from jealousy, praising oneself, and denigrating others will be purified. One will not be affected by slander, black magic, and harm by spirits. The 12 Yaksha chiefs and their 700,000 servants will protect you, and all harm will be reversed. If merely hearing his name is of such great benefit, it is needless to mention the benefit of receiving the empowerment. And so, so generally, we say that now we speak about sutras and the tantras. 1 second. And so there's a difference between the sutras and the tantras. But what this text here says is that actually this practice of medicine Buddha can be practiced whether one follows the sutras or the tantras. And in fact, it applies to all deities. There's really no difference between any deity. There seem to be differences because there are different lineages and different lineage gurus and different ways of practicing. For example, we have the new tantric system or the Nyingma, the old tantric system, and so on. So that's why people think that there are differences, and then often that's why people ask or think about what class of tantra does this deity belong to. But actually, this story here shows that all deities have a single essence. The difference does not lie in the deity. There's not one deity belonging to a certain class. So therefore, also this deity it kind of encompasses both the sutras and the tantras. So it can be practiced, this medicine Buddha can be practiced from both kind of perspectives, whether sutra or the tantras. It is always one and the same deity wherever you encounter it.
Sotoka me bawa, sopo chao me bawa, ana rakto me bawa, sava sete me pa yeta, sava kama seta me, tatam chiam guru hong, ha 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 ho banga, sova tata gata beda ma me munta beda ba, ma samaya sa do, oma sova tata gata. Abeki kade samaya jere rani dala to to ya sokton jibda jombu to cheta da da tap jedo do ma da jo ma hong oma nyonelo la ba ya da jombu to da jedo ma ne to sa nga de bala nga cha do ma zi ba ka so do do de ji na so gu re ji da teng ka te me ye che ji e che to la ma je te ve go ka la so ba na ge ta ma sa ma la ho ra ba ya ho na ya ho ba be ya ra za yo me moto todo de que también sabe que le solo doji ko kan isiga de me bomba be dara ya teni nam ka na be septi tamchi teni khoba ka so dan di de la teni de ta wan ko chi ke kan ge na de ka me da bar ko re 이 메다만 다 메다 남만서 망보도 사람들이 망보 요리데 옛날에 이제 말을 베지 라접 나한테 메다티 이 하장 땡사고 티 메다 동고 사바리 이제 자작할 야르다 참이 티 메다티 동상 못하는 티 메다 동고 사바리 이제 메다 버나운
the root of samsara for all sentient beings, limitless space, is self-grasping, and that's why we receive empowerments and teach the Dharma. And when we so in order to eliminate this self-grasping, no matter what Dharma we engage in, empowerment we receive, we always in the beginning must offer a mandala. And there are many different kinds of mandala offerings that possess great blessings. But this particular mandala offering that we're going to recite, that comes from the Guru Yoga practice of Chesi Milarepa, that one is a particularly extremely profound mandala offering, because when you read it, you will actually understand the meaning of mandala offering. So that's why we have also made it available online. And so think about its meaning, think about the meaning of this mandala, because then you will really understand the meaning of mandala offering. So next, please offer a mandala.
메다 버키양들이 적디 감 장미 바티 참 찹들이 되게 보여. 얘네들 로알도 소소소소 찹들이 참아 물어지고요. 돌았더니 다디 불에 다들 보고 어떻게 불 설들이 사제 탐제 삼바다 hin지도 찹바바는 게더니 설제 탐제 줄었더니 삼바다 hin지 계속 삼 디비과테 같이 보여래.
And whenever we offer a mandala, we visualize that in an instant, all the Buddhas of the three times appear in the space before us like clouds massing in the sky. And so I think that from this space expanse of Dharmakaya, the rainbow-like Sambhogakayas appear. And so think that they actually are there, present in front of you in space. And then the one who is offering the mandala should also think that I'm offering this mandala on behalf of all the sentient beings in this universe, all the beings in the 6 realms. So by doing that, all sentient beings are actually making this offering together. And what we are really offering up to the Buddhas is all of our self-grasping. And what we receive in return is a rainfall of love and compassion that then permeate all sentient beings. So think that now love and compassion has arisen in the mind streams of all sentient beings. So this visualization is important.
In the yellow prayer book, we'll do the mandala offering on page 7. An infinite array of worlds, each with 4 continents and the wealth of infinite oceans of realms. If I bring them all to mind and offer them without exception, please hold with compassion all the beings they contain. My body, enjoyments, and whatever I own, my aggregates, elements, and sense sources, my aspirations now and in times to come, as well as everything I grasp as mine. By offering them all, may I be blessed with the end of self-grasping, completely liberated from the bounds of real and unreal, transcending the names and concepts of arising, cessation, and abiding, coming and going, affirmation and denial. The supreme mandala is the natural state. By offering it, may I be blessed to attain the state of Buddhahood. Om Guru Deva Da Kini Rana Mandala Prakticha Swoha.
Om Guru Rina Mindala Pansaminga Ahom. Untitled Chapter Kakang Tawang Choyo Trita Soda Gores. One Gurukani Nakakami. Simply Tanta number Plata Ramotoki, one cookie, somewhere.
So now think that now I'm going to receive empowerment from these places as objects of refuge abiding in the space in front of me. And so for that sake, we will next repeat a few supplications. And also, while you're receiving the empowerment, then when you're receiving the empowerment, think that that there are as many empowerment gods and goddesses appearing as there are sentient beings, and they all receive the empowerment together.
Lama Dorje Zimba Chimbo La Soba Sopju Sanji Sanchok Samba Tamche Tang Derchik Mila Chipdun Tang Sopu Dala Gongso Sor Da Dene Zongte Sancham Ningbo La Chiche Parda Tomdide Mijila Bedaya Oje Japo Yadamda Sopunchi Sardozo.
In English, Guru, Great Vajra Holder, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions and the 8 manifestations of the medicine Buddha, please heed me. Master, please grant me the blessings of the medicine Buddha, the King of Lapis Light, who shall be my yidam from now on until attaining awakening.
Simply mammy was Sajir means of a tablet, Saji to Lizzie Nangyore. The relative or total Sajir, Children again, the Tonore, the way Jackson to Adi. This 사조가 샘지바 가리 잡수 송나 양 잡수 로이 요러더니 문이 잡수 산제 좀 이게 문이 타바랑나라데 초를 잡수로 탑도 뭐이소 잡수랑 줘버려 랑 잡버려 가리고는 다치디로도 파 욕에서 인피로 철랑을 낸 거랬어 내 맞이를 거기창 잡도 말해서 사지장에 탑이 넣어서 때리더니 잡도 샘지 그거 동태지
So then we will repeat refuge and the motivation of bodhicitta. And that is what we always begin with that. Whether we receive an empowerment or even if we just practice a very short sadhana, always begins with taking refuge and then cultivating the motivation of bodhicitta. And so the reason why we take refuge in the beginning is because we recognize that now the Buddha was the one who gave us this excellent method, the teachings, the instructions. And through practicing them, unripe sentient beings can become ripened, can mature. So that is why we take refuge in the Buddha. And so we speak about the three jewels. That is the Buddha, and then the Buddha gave the Dharma, and then from the Dharma appeared the Sangha. So we take refuge in the three jewels, and then we cultivate bodhicitta. Because even though we have taken refuge, you might think, now I have taken refuge in the Buddha. But what you need to understand for that also is that the real protection is, your real refuge is bodhicitta. The Buddha himself said that I can only show you the method that leads to liberation. But then liberation itself depends on you. Only you can liberate yourself. And so how can you liberate yourself? It is by cultivating an altruistic mind, giving up your selfishness and cultivating bodhicitta. If you don't do that, the Buddha himself said, if you don't do that, I can't help you. I can't give you refuge. But he can give you the method. And that's why in our refuge vow we always say tap yino, which means this is the method. So you have to take the method. So that's the reason why we take refuge and then cultivate bodhicitta.
Guancho, Sumla, Da Jabchi, Dekba, Mege, So Sorsha, Rowe, Gela, Ji Yi Rang, Sangye, Sangche, Yi Ji Song, Sangye, Chu Tang, Cho Cho La, Zhang Che, Bar Ze, Da Jiang Che, Rang Ji, Dong Ni, Rab Rab Ser, Zhang Che, Sen Ne, Ji Bar Je, Zhang Che, Cho Ge, Sen Ne, Ji Ji Ne, Sen Ji, Tam Ji, Da Ki, Rong De Nier, Zhang Che, Zhong Cho, Yi Ong, Jie Bai Ji, Ro La, Pin Ser, Sang Jie, Rab Bai Sho.
In English, I take refuge in the three jewels. I confess all misdeeds and non-virtues. I rejoice in the virtues of all beings, and I hold the Buddha's awakening in mind. Until attaining awakening, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly in order to fully accomplish the purpose of others and myself. I give rise to bodhicitta, having given rise to the mind of supreme awakening. I welcome all beings. I will engage in the supreme Bodhisattva's conduct that is pleasing to all. May I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all beings.
Oh, Trinidad, Chang Chop Sem Shipati, don't check it, Rang Yin, Tonya, Yamdan, they call it Sanchok Serit. Carly, Sabat Semi by Yin Gondela, Rang it, talk with the Dadi, Dadi Tari Yomari. They take a Bina, 60 something, the Dadi, Yin Dadi Young Shek to Kuyori, something. They, Poker Mark something, only poker the same day out of a basic. The Rangi Tony Namd, this are so similar Mochi, so just to decide something, Tabri, the terrible novel your Mary, comes from Super Summon over the day. Sanchok Seven, Sanchok Curry, Yipping Lottery, Yipping Lottery, Tongue Chub the Curry, Yipping Lottery, that was simply Pigo, something, now that is the Shekro Mary Lorry. Daddy means or such send the around Saji Chadele. Didn't talk yet now, Tritata, Kamani show me so dana, Sabasemi Gomne, me so dana, they took it to the number.
So we said here that so bodhicitta accomplishes the purpose of others. So in order to fully accomplish the purpose of others and myself, I give rise to bodhicitta. So bodhicitta is the one thing, is that thing that accomplishes the purpose of others and oneself at the same time. So when you cultivate immeasurable love for others, you become free of self-grasping. And that's the only thing that you need to become free of. It is self-grasping. And if you cultivate love for others, then you will also be able to help others to eliminate their own self-grasping, because this is also what obscures the minds of others. If you cultivate love for them, their self-grasping will also dissolve. Just like when you love your child and the child feels happy. So therefore, bodhicitta is what accomplishes the purpose of others and oneself simultaneously. Bodhicitta is the heart of all the Buddhas of the 3 times. It is their jewel. It is the only real jewel you can find in the 3 realms of samsaric existence. So bodhicitta really is an altruistic mind. It is the mind that always thinks about benefiting others, only want to benefit others. When you only think about helping, benefiting others, then the self-grasping, the selfishness will just naturally disintegrate. And when there is no self-grasping, the mind itself in that natural state is Buddha already. You are Buddha then. So reflect in this way now when you take a break for 20 minutes. So please rest while meditating on immeasurable love. Tashitelek Dharma friends.
Sangha.